Okay, let's watch this video. Why do people still play Destiny 2? We just finished the Lazy Peon video, so I wanna see the how can I say this, the POV of a veteran that is still playing the game. Let's watch this.
Why do people still play Destiny 2? I have been around Destiny for 9 years now, and this question has never really gone away. It all started when Destiny 1 came out, which had a lot of lukewarm reviews and criticisms from fans.
I remember
so
that people hated
from other
the
parts
beginning
of the
of
gaming
Destiny.
community, Destiny 1 was looking like a bit of a flop. And for people that are curious about how a game is when it comes out, but they aren't really too interested in playing it, usually that game will end up falling into one of two categories: the did not live up to expectations category and the exceeded expectations category. And between those two, I would say Destiny 1 probably fell under did not live up to expectations.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
of course, to them, just hearing from people that are actually playing Destiny is also not really going to give them an accurate insight into how good the game is as well, because as a community, we are pretty much impossible to read. The only way that I can summarize the way that Destiny players feel about Destiny is, I hate Destiny 2, it's my favorite game. So fast forward 1 year later to when The Taken King comes out, and the game that came out and didn't really live up to expectations, which you may have expected to fizzle out, is boom. Everybody loves the expansion, the player base is extremely healthy, and then you fast forward another year to Rise of Iron, and everybody's like, yeah, this is pretty good. And then you hear about Destiny 2 being announced, and
Destiny 2
everybody
was
is
another
absolutely
flop.
stoked about that.
I
Lots of
remember.
interest is being generated in some of the biggest names in the gaming community, and then it comes out,
And it flopped.
oh!
Yeah, I remember.
What the fuck? So things were not looking good. People that stuck around for the
Yep.
entirety of Destiny 1 through its up and downs just left, and I was part of that. You kind of forget about
Same.
Destiny 2, and then boom, Forsaken
Forsaken.
comes out a year later.
Save the game.
And everybody's like, oh my god, Destiny 2 is
He's
saved.
back.
Also, I'm very sad. From that point, Destiny 2's concurrent player count just kind of keeps on growing and growing and growing, but when you check Twitter, it seems like everybody hates it.
What's that ominous glow in the distance?
Oh, hell no. I mean, Twitter hates everything, so...
You watch reaction videos from Twitch streamers, and Destiny 2 is kind of made out to be the laughing stock of the quote-unquote MMO community.
Destiny is a fucking waste of my time, all right? Waste of my time, waste of my money. Fuck that game. I wish I could refund it.
Yep.
So after all this turbulence, if you've spent the last 7 years as a bystander, you probably have no idea, why do people still play Destiny 2? But an even better question is, why haven't you installed Z-League? The sponsor of today's video. Z-League is a hub based around what I love most in this world: gaming. You can play in tournaments for free where you can earn Z-Coins that you can either turn into cash or use on their shop. They even have a content feed where you can watch some seriously underrated Fortnite playoffs. They even have their own LFG system, which you can use to find people to play with, something that I will be using for Counter-Strike so that I never have to play with people like this ever again.
Shut the f up. You're a
You can even make your own dope posts. This is me just letting
he
everyone
played
know that I'm
CS:GO.
straight up chilling right now. So it's a no-brainer to give Z-League a try. I have no brain and I ended up loving it. So go ahead and use my link below to download the Z-League app, and you will get 500 Z-Coins just by signing up. So thank you to Z-League, and let's get back to the video.
Be good.
For better or worse, there is always something to do in Destiny 2. And instead of drowning you in choice overload, the game picks new stuff for everybody to do weekly on a rotation. Every single week you can expect a pinnacle dungeon, a pinnacle raid, a weekly
now they
Grandmaster
changed
Nightfall,
that.
whatever reward it yields, a pinnacle PvP challenge, a pinnacle Vanguard challenge, a pinnacle Gambit challenge.
Oh,
Most
hell
of the
no.
time, a new seasonal story mission, a weekly Lightfall challenge, and then on the weekends, Trials of Osiris. And if Trials isn't there on the weekend, it's because Iron Banner will be there the entire week. And that's just the main stuff. Beyond that, there are a lot of smaller achievements to work towards. So for a newish player that has gotten the hang of Destiny's formula, there is so much new, good content to experience. They get to play everything for the first time. For raids, you got Root of Nightmares, King's Fall, Vow of the Disciple, Vault of Glass, Deepstone Crypt, Guard of Salvation, Last Wish. And if they've never done a dungeon, you got
Not bad.
Shattered Throne, Pit of Heresy, Prophecy, Grasp of Avarice, Duality, Spire of the Watcher, Ghost of the Deep, and they'll be experiencing all of these for the first time. Then you graduate a little bit. You get to do your first ever Nightfall, and then your first Grandmaster Nightfall. And then after grinding PvE, you get to take all of your hard-earned weapons for a spin in PvP, which at least at first is really fun. After getting a little bit more interested in PvP, you
Trials.
start playing Trials of Osiris on the weekends. You hover over Gambit, but you decide not to play because you respect your own time. And as your playtime increases, you begin to fine-tune exactly what type of stuff you're looking for. You're tired of not putting up the big boy numbers in the post-wipe damage report. You hunt for the perfect grenade launcher, which will synergize wonderfully with your 4th times the charm Focused Fury sniper rifle. And beyond the weapons you're running, you're
Oh, they
also
got a
granted
horn.
extra layers of sophistication by the subclass system and the presence of exotic weapons and armor. By the way, if you don't know what exotics are, it's a class of weapons and armor that have extremely specific perks. Pretty much, it's addicting putting builds together that do one of 3 things: either do tons of damage to a single target, obliterate mobs of weaker enemies, or just make it impossible for you to die. Combine everything that I just
Okay.
said with the fact that new seasons are released every 3 months alongside a big annual DLC, and it is a winning formula, at least for a while. The thing is, having this big store of great content works really well for when you're getting a lot of new players. But what do you do when the overwhelming majority of your players are now veterans and everything that I mentioned before is no longer new?
That is why I quit.
I'm sure you're expecting this, so let's get it out of the way.
Monetization.
Monetization.
One of the worst things
Remember
about
all
this
that
game.
fun new stuff that I mentioned earlier?
Yep.
Well, the bad news is that it
$500.
isn't free and it ain't cheap. Even if you take advantage of bundle deals, it'll run you about $180.
Never mind,
On top of that,
200.
you have the Eververse store, which is where all the microtransactions are, and they use the same insane price structure that free-to-play games use, except Destiny 2 isn't free. Beyond the new stuff, you have to keep the core game modes healthy. They're meant to be the beating heart of Destiny 2, the most vital
Gambit.
organ, and yet they're treated like they don't exist. I don't want to insinuate
Yeah,
anything
strikes are
nefarious
hella
here, and I
dead.
certainly don't want to accuse the developers
and
of
they suck.
anything because
Destiny 1
they
strikers
aren't
were
really
better.
in charge of what they're making, at least for the most part. But the obvious reason would be that the reason core game modes aren't updated is because you can't sell somebody better PvP if they already own the game. At least not in the same way that you can sell them a new dungeon or sell them a new seasonal story. There's essentially no direct profits to making PvP better. So if you ignore the Fortnitean way of thinking for just a moment, where you have to add new stuff every 2 seconds, let's take a look at Steam charts. You see the game on the very top called Counter-Strike Global Offensive? That game came out over a decade ago, and this is what it looks like. The majority of people playing it are playing one game mode with 0 new weapons since it came out, and most of the time they're playing the same
The
2 or
revolver.
3 maps. The reason it's still so popular is because it's simple, original, and fun. The same adjectives that I would use to describe Destiny PvP when it came out. Over the years though, Destiny PvP, as a result of new stuff being added to the game as a whole, has just been bogged down with garbage. I can't speak on the Vanguard or Gambit playlist too much simply because I do not play them at all, but maybe the fact that I don't is telling of their value. They're just not really fun or compelling. So clearly if the core game modes are suffering, a lot weighs on the new stuff. The only problem is that the beat to death formula that they're using isn't new. So in a game that's meant to be exciting and adventurous, all of the new content is cookie cutter. In one season you can expect a dungeon, probably an exotic mission, a new farmable activity, a seasonal storyline. And then in the season after that, it will be a raid, probably an exotic mission, a new farmable activity.
With the new raid, he should set a new, not new, old raid. Because that's what that is their new formula. When the expansion launches, they have the new raid, but then they add one of the old Destiny 1 raids later in the same year. So they add two raids every expansion, but only one of those raids is actually a new raid. The other raid is the old raid that we had in Destiny 1, rework a little bit, and they put it in this in one of the seasons to have the two raids. So I don't know. It's not really like a new raid. So I wish he said that, but it's okay.
A seasonal storyline. And they repeat that cycle pretty much forever. On top of that, there's also been a bit of, in my opinion, overemphasis on Destiny's story. I think I would agree with the direction of putting a lot of focus on the story if it was a little more compelling, but to me, the writing is just a little bit weak. Everything feels very tropey and cliche to the point where I'm never engaged in what is happening. Most everybody in Destiny is written as a caricature of a human being, so much so that I don't connect with anybody on a human level. Everybody that I put on the screen right now could be crushed by a Cabal launch pod tomorrow or in the next season, and I would not feel anything. They also just make all of the characters speak like a 7th grader that is role-playing as a wizard, where they just overload every single sentence with like 4,000 adjectives.
The chorus of the Death Singer's call has been stolen and bound to your growing arsenal. Once more, you have proven
I
yourself
personally don't pay
worthy to
attention
stand
to this
against
shit.
the
I just
night.
hear it and
Let the death song protect you
ignore it.
as it rends those who once cheered its wicked power.
We will mount the head of that son of a bitch on his precious throne.
I didn't
For our
know
fire team.
I could
For Cade.
swear once in Forsaken, huh?
No,
What did you say?
we are not an army. We are not conquerors. We are guardians. We need to keep our eyes here. On our home, our people, the traveler. The reef was lost the moment it lost its queen. So if another Sov wants a stretch of lifeless rocks,
I mean, I personally think
let
Zavala
him have it.
This is Cade
is goated.
we're talking about.
Rip, the voice
For
actor.
us to do nothing.
He also the
is-
John Wick.
It's
He's the
Fate.
black guy that was the
cowardice.
like the
So if
gatekeeper.
there's so much that is
from the
wrong with
hotel.
Destiny 2, why
I
are
don't
people
remember
still
his
playing?
name.
Just remember that though I've been
Sash.
critiquing it for the past few minutes, right before that I was praising it. It is still a really good game. Right now we just have an exhausted player base that is tired of the same
Exhausted.
exact formula and
I like that-
tired
I like that
of
word,
the core game modes just
exhausted.
being neglected. And in some cases feeling like their money is being
People are
disrespected.
tired.
There's also no really true
Everyone is tired.
substitute for Destiny 2, at least not in the same way that CSGO has Valorant or Apex Legends has PUBG and Fortnite.
That is pretty true. Destiny is so unique. It doesn't have another competitor. That is probably one of the worst things that happened to this game, not having an actual competitor. Everyone is trying to make like like a The Division type of game, third person, and not really that fun. You know, the gunplay is what makes these games fun. You cannot have good gunplay with third person as a third person. Third person shooters don't really work. Looter shooters, they don't. In my opinion, they don't. It's not really that good. And this game is the only game that did it with a first person, and it's the only one in the top. Destiny 2 is the king of the looter shooters. And probably never no other game is gonna dethrone it. Unfortunate. It's not gonna try to make the game better and compete with it. So they're only gonna get garbage because there's no need to make good shit. Who's gonna take the throne? Warframe? No. So that's what we get. Unfortunate.
Destiny 2 has well, they're all dead. So thank you so much for watching. I know that there's a lot of people cashing in on the Destiny 2 hatred right now, but for me, a channel that is centered solely around Destiny 2, it is not beneficial for me to push anything negative about the game. It's like being a cobbler that constantly says that shoes suck and you don't need them. So what I said in this video, I believe to be true. It's not beneficial for me to grasp at straws trying to come up with stuff that I could portray as bad about Destiny 2. This is what I actually believe. So if you enjoyed the video, dropping a like helps out a ton. If you have any comments that you want to add to what I was saying in this video, you can do that in the comment section.
I mean,
And I'll see
I haven't played.
you in my next video. Bye-bye.
I haven't played the game in the last 2 years, so I don't know. I don't have really anything to add, to add. The only thing that I have is the what is it called? The experience before I stop playing the game. Right now I don't really have anything to say because the game has evolved. 2 years. That's two expansions, the Witch Queen and what is the name of the new one? Cares. The expansion sucks either way. So yeah, great video, really cool. I have to agree that this game gets a lot of hate, more than it probably deserves. But Bungie did it to themselves. They did that, they kind of forced the community to hate them and the game with all the shit that has happened. So that's the consequences, I guess. But yeah.